Okay, today's the M57 reliability video of 2021. Let's do it.
But goddamn, get it done, will ya? When I blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories. We running through New York, so you know.
Okay, so here we are today with the M57 reliability of 2021. Now this is another highly regarded video, and it's something I do yearly, regardless be it M52, S85 or the M57. It's what I'm known for, it's what I give you guys request it, I give it. You guys know me, it's something I have to cater for all my people and not just the ones I've actually got. I have a wide variety of different audience for different engines, therefore it's my responsibility to give you guys what you come to see. So M57 reliability. Now, as many of you guys know, this engine, 10% of people tarnish it, 90% of people love it. And I'm one of them 90% that actually do love this engine. Reliability wise, it's a cracking engine and reliable all over for me. But reliability all depends on you. If you're planning to buy one and remap it, it's not going to be reliable. So if that's the first thing you're thinking, get that out of your head and walk away from this engine. This engine will not be reliable if you remap it. Now, I'm going to go on to the first reason why that is, because it's going to be very hard to show you. But reliability, remap will destroy the cool converter on the gearbox. So if it's something you're planning to do, be prepared that you're going to end up destroying the gearbox. Also, you'll destroy other parts of the engine, which we're going to go over in a minute. But overall, this engine is very, very, very reliable. And I'm going to explain to you a few common things that actually fail on these engines. So let's get onto it. So the first one that likes to fail is the EGR valve. I've said to you many times why that fails, how it sticks, how it can damage your turbo, how it can damage your whole engine. And my best advice is actually to blank it. I've got videos up showing you how to blank it and how to get rid of it. As I've said, if you do have the electronic EGR, you will need to get that mapped out of the ECU. Again, something I do. It's not hard to do. I've done it many times and it's something I'm still doing to this day. So make sure if you do have the electronic one, you're going to remove all the EGR cooler and everything else, you get that mapped out if you've got the electronic connector. If you have the vacuum line connected to the EGR valve, you just plug it with a screw. Now, if you do have the electronic one, you'll have the EGR thermostat as well. Therefore, my belief is to get rid of that because it's another nuisance part which only costs money, which is useless to actually do. You'll have to blank it all off and save yourself money in the long run. Because as I said before in my previous videos, the EGR thermostat sticks. It will cause your car not to come up to temperature, which is bad for emissions, bad for the engine, bad for the turbo, bad for the oil, bad for all round on the engine. If you are planning to remap it, you'll have to remove that anyway. Most people already know that. The next one on these is the water pump and thermostat. Now they're very cheap to replace, and I've replaced them on this one because when I got it, temperature was going into cold as soon as you're driving it. Replaced it, and the car's been perfect ever since. But if you notice that, and if you're buying it on an E60, you probably won't notice that unless you plug up a scanner and actually check it. It's not expensive, they're very, very cheap parts. It cost me £60 for the thermostat and the water pump. I replaced them, now the car drives absolutely beautiful. But they do fail, but it's nothing like any other car wouldn't fail. And they're mechanical and not electric, so they're cheap. The next one is your oil changes. Make sure to keep up with your oil changes. On a diesel, I changed the oil on this every 5K without fail. You guys would have seen me. When I bought it, I changed the oil. I went and changed it again, and that's purely because I change my oil on all my cars every 5K regardless, petrol or diesel. Every 5K, the oil is out and changed with a new filter and new oil straight in. That is the way to prolong the life of a diesel engine. The diesel needs clean oil, and these engines are solid providing you change that oil. Now, the next one on these is going to be the CCV, as you would have seen in my other video, what sits in the back here, which is the crankcase ventilation system. Now, when you buy an M57, be sure to check that. Now, a lot of people, if you're planning to buy an M57, will know who I am, probably seen the video and already changed it because it was a critical part that I made sure everyone saw because it needs to be replaced. You'll have the old loo roll type. Make sure to change that to the newer system, which is plastic, and it never has to be changed again because the oil drains back down, because the loo roll type ends up clogging up and it'll end up destroying your turbo. And that's why a lot of people end up with turbo problems and valve stem cell problems because it puts too much pressure on the loo roll itself. breather system and it ends up blowing all the seals inside the engine. And that's why a lot of people end up with blue smoke coming out of their diesel from all the turbo seals and the valve stem seals completely shot from that breather system, clogging up, backing up and destroying all the seals on the engine. So do make sure you change that, and it's not expensive. Bevy do it, the part is readily available everywhere, £30, and majority of them are all the same. I would just buy it for peace of mind the moment you get it, to make sure that has been changed. The next one on these is the glow plugs and the glow plug control unit. You would have seen that on my video and me actually doing it. I will link it above for you guys to actually go and see. But we did change that out because it's a common problem, and be prepared, you are going to have to probably change the glow plugs and the glow plug control unit. It's not a hard job. I've got videos showing how to remove the manifold, how to get access to that, and how to actually change them. It is important that you do that because that helps with a healthy diesel engine, and also if you've got an E60, you have the DPF system in place. A lot of people under belief to remove the DPF system. You don't have to remove it. If you change your glow plugs and it can do the regeneration, your DPF will be fine. It's people who don't replace them and then clog up the DPF from it not doing this regeneration, which end up actually messing up the DPF, and then people want to get rid of it. Providing your glow plugs are working in your glow plug control unit, your DPF will be perfect and you have no reason to remove it. Now, if you're going to remap it, of course, you need to remove it. Same with the EGR to be able to get more power. But this engine doesn't have it because it's E53, so it's 2006, so last year without the DPF. Therefore, it doesn't have the DPF system, so I don't have to worry about that. But I still replace the glow plugs and glow plug control unit. Again, video will be up showing you guys how to actually do that if you're in need of actually doing that on your car. Now, the next one, which a lot of people are going to say to me, is the injectors. The injectors very rarely fail on this, and if you're using good quality diesel, you're using cleaners, which I use all the time. You guys probably would have seen my Forte stuff. I always use it in the cars. You won't get no issues with your injectors. Something I'm a strong believer in, and I've always used it on diesels and I've never had no issues. Now, there is the odd people that will get the issues, but if you get the issues, that is because of lack of maintenance, as I tell everybody. As I've said, there's a fuel filter that sits up there on the top corner, a lot of the old M57 engines. Make sure to replace that every time you replace your oil. That is the way to prolong the life of these engines. Now, as they get newer on the E60, and on this one, for instance, it's got an non-changeable filter. You don't actually have to change it, but on the older ones you do. It sits up there and it's got a sensor, and if that clogs up or backs up, it will give you no crank, no start, and your car will not start if that filter isn't changed because it's got too much debris in it. That's why I'm telling you to make sure you actually change that. Now, the next one on these, which again I've got a video showing, is the swirl flaps. Now, this is an E53. You guys will see in my video, this doesn't have swirl flaps, but that's not going to be the case if you buy an E60 because they got tighter on emissions. They put swirl flaps, DPF, electronic EGR. They tried their hardest to stop you removing any of the emission parts because that's what they had to do to make diesels efficient and make them low road tax and meet the government's requirements and so on and so on and so on. Now, if you do buy one, especially an E60, you're going to have swirl flaps, and majority of you are going to have them, and it's regarded that you get them straight out. Majority of people you're going to buy an M57 from are going to be enthusiasts. They would have done it, already had it done, because everyone knows about it. Everybody knows. This one doesn't have it, so I didn't have to worry about it, but you'll see my video. I was ready to blank them off immediately as soon as I bought this car. A lot of you guys don't know that, but if you watch my video, you'll see I only literally just bought that. Within 2 days, I was ready to blank them out because it was something you just can't take a chance on, because it's crucial you get them out, because what ends up happening, they fall out, they get into the cylinders, destroy all the cylinders and destroy the whole engine. It isn't worth the risk, so make sure you actually check and make sure the swirl flaps have been done if you're planning to buy an M57 engine. My best advice to reliability of these is make sure that's been done. The EGR isn't too big of a worry if that's been blanked, but make sure it's not remapped. Do not buy one of these if they've been remapped, because if they've been hammered around, you're going to be left to pick up the pieces and the cost of a damaged engine, damaged gearbox and whatever else. I've had a lot of people messaging me all the time saying they've just bought an E60 diesel and the revs are fluctuating. That's because the torque converter's on the way out. Usually when you're getting the revs fluctuating while you're holding it up, or when you're cruising along 60, you'll see the revs going up, down, up, down. That's because the torque converter isn't locking up properly. Therefore, your revs are going all over the place. It's normal, especially on a remap car. That's why I advise against remaps on these engines, unless you've got the money to keep throwing and repairing. But in that sense, you're better off buying an M3 or an M5. It doesn't make sense to do that for more power to just damage the whole engine and therefore keep costing you loads of money. But this engine is very, very reliable and doesn't suffer oil leaks like the petrols. From the valve cover, from the sump, these engines do not suffer oil leaks. So if you're planning to get one, go and buy one. These engines are very, very solid. Buy it from a responsible person. But then bear in mind, if you're buying it from a responsible person and not an enthusiast, you will be left to do the swell flaps, which is not a big job. Again, like I said, I've got a video showing you how to remove the manifold, how to get to it, and how to actually get them out. I've got 2 videos up showing how to do that. I will link it above for you guys to actually go and check it out. But it is a very, very easy job, and it's like for like all on the M57 engines. From this one to any 60, it's all completely the same. So I hope now you guys actually see this engine is very, very reliable, will always be reliable year upon year upon year, providing you do the maintenance and look after it. It's a very solid engine. This is a beautiful engine, and let me tell you now, I love this engine. You guys know what I think of the M57 engine. I adore that engine like nobody's business. I adore this engine like I adore my M52, and that's the whole reason why I got one of these engines. But overall, it's a very reliable car. Don't let anybody tell you it ain't. Again, if your turbo is whistling, which is another point, or you go and buy one and you find that the turbo's whistling, or the owner's telling you that the turbo's rattling or turbine, you can hear it, it's usually because it's been over boosted, remapped it. Now, a lot of people, if they're going to sell these, they'll probably watch my video and then try and tell you it's not remapped. The only way to check is a scan tool, and you can tell if the map's been messed about with. Usually I can be able to detect that straight away if the map's been messed with on the car, because I can pull it and check it. But a lot of people will try and lie and say it hasn't been mapped now to be able to sell their car. But trust my advice, guys. I've been working on these engines for nearly 8 years. I was working on these when I was in garages, stripping them. A majority of other things on the engine we've replaced many times on the vacuum pump and many of the vacuum lines. So I know this engine like the back of my hand, and I'm telling you, remapped engines are damaged engines. Do not touch a remapped M57. If it's not remapped, go and buy it, because you will have the most strongest, reliable, and a beast of a car. These make good power without a remap, and they do not need a remap. Okay guys, as you've seen, I've just gone over the M57 reliability video of 2021. Now, as I said, these cars can be reliable in the right capable hands, and they're a very, very reliable unit if you're willing to put the time and effort into these cars like any other BMW. But the M57 is probably one of the best engines you can get in the UK and in the EU. Better than the petrols because it's more reliable, it doesn't have many oil leaks, and nothing really breaks on it unless you actually remap it. But it's a very, very solid engine. Now, the gearboxes before 2006 were very unreliable. Them GM transmissions were horrible transmissions, and they give up regardless of remap or no remap. Therefore, I do recommend to try and avoid any with an M57 engine before 2006, because they are horrible, horrible gearboxes. They are 5-speed gearboxes, and it strains the engine too much. Therefore, as I said to you, try and get one more upper. Another thing is, do not remap them, guys. Do not remap them. Trust me what I'm telling you. If you want it to be reliable and you want it to last you, don't remap the engine. It's a very solid engine, and it's very capable already as it is with the power output that it actually produces. The torque and the actual power is actually very nice, and with the kick down, it really does go. Especially on this X5 for a big heavy car, it still pulls like an absolute beast. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and it was another one that's been highly requested because I've been doing all the videos on the petrol. So there you go, have it guys, I've now done it for you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. This BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.